Hello, everyone. This is Pastor Greg. Today we have another interesting subject, as always. Joining me today is Dr. Marks. Dr. Marks, thank you, sir. We're going to be discussing what is science, or we're going to be asking the question, what is science? This is an extremely important subject because I think a lot of people take the word science and they put it in this big umbrella called science, and they think that everything underneath it is scientific, when really there's different types of science. Dr. Marks, I'll let you explain the different types of science and why it's important for us to know the differences between them.
Well, I think I'll answer the why is it important, first of all, because there's the perception, the idea in our culture that science is somehow absolute, and everything that is religious or supernatural is somehow not scientific. And scientific or science has credibility, religion does not. But science itself, the word, simply means what we know. That's what it is. It's what we know. It's not what we think we know. It's not what we hope to know. It's what we actually know. And there are significant differences between what's called forensic science, what happened in the past, and operational. Operational is how things work in the now, right
Sure.
now. There's a difference between those two things.
Well, so out of the two, you've got forensic and operational. Why do you think it's important to even distinguish between the two?
Well, because, again, we confuse the differences between what is operational in the now and what is forensic, what happened in the past. And what is in the now, I can observe directly. I can put it in a laboratory. I can experiment on it. I mean, if I want to find out about how water boils, all I have to do is get water and put it in a container and put it on a heat source, and I can observe that. I can experiment with it. I can add things to the water and see how that changes, how long it takes, or how much water. I mean, the list goes on and that feels very solid and dependable. But when you look at forensic, well, you're looking at things indirectly. It's like a car accident. When I look at the car accident forensically, I have to look at the pieces of a puzzle and put it together until it appears that I have a picture of what might have happened. But since I cannot directly observe it, like putting water on that heat source, I have to decide hopefully beyond a reasonable doubt,
Sure.
what happened. But sometimes I can't even get to reasonable doubt because I don't have enough pieces of the puzzle.
So with that being said, if we were to take these two fields of science, forensic science and operational science, would you say that one requires less faith than the other?
No, I believe they both require faith. For example, even operational science, you're having faith that your senses are giving you reliable data to your brain. I mean, it's still a step of faith right there. It's a rational step of faith, but it's still a step of faith.
And I definitely agree that both of them require faith. The foundation of both sciences require faith. But when I think of operational science, I think of driving my car down the freeway, and I'm going 65 miles an hour, and that's an extremely dangerous speed when you really think about it. And I'm relying 100% upon operational science, right? Operational science, we drive it, but we can experience enough faithfulness in operational science to basically put our trust in it, right? Mm-hmm. But when it comes to forensic science, or let's just say how we got here, right? Mm-hmm. We're talking about the Big Bang or religious claims. Mm-hmm. At the end of the day, does it feel like there's a little bit more of a leap of guesswork or faith to come to one of those?
Honestly, in my opinion, no. I really do think it is a step of faith. But again, I mean, you mentioned the car driving down the street. Well, and it's operational science. Well, it was also forensic. Even within operational science, you're basing it on faith of what you have observed from the past. In the same way, when I consider whether or not the answer to how we got here is God versus some natural process, well, I have never seen in the now a natural process that can produce the things that I see in the universe. Never.
Interesting, yeah. Oftentimes, going back to the car analogy, when you're driving down the road, you have faith that your car is going to be safe, right?
You do?
Because you're trusting the manufacturer, you're trusting your past experiences, and really, we put a lot of trust into a lot of things, and we don't even question it whatsoever, right?
That's right.
Until something totally goes south. But overall, statistically, we feel like we'll be safe. But it's interesting because when you look at the forensic sciences, say worldviews, because there's been so many clashes between them, I can't help but wonder how many people are afraid to jump into one because they've seen people get hurt through those clashes in the past. Now that's kind of another subject in itself, but forensic science, I that's interesting. I never thought about it from that perspective. But forensic and operational both require a reasonable amount of faith.
You know, when it comes to the forensic sciences, we base what we're looking at when we're trying to see what might have happened in the past based on our observations of things in the present. You know, the present is the key to the past. And this is the reason that I'm a theist. I believe that there's a God, is because I have never seen something come from nothing.
Sure.
You know, in the
That's
present. That's observational science. It's right now.
And
And when I look at
forensic.
forensic, I'm going, okay, at one point in time, based on the evidence that we have, there was at one point nothing. Nothing doesn't produce anything. So there has to be a cause that is greater than all the effects that we see in the universe. Hence the reason I think it is a reasonable faith, a rational faith, forensically speaking, to conclude that there must be a God.
Interesting. So with that being said, in conclusion, science is man's understanding of the world around him. It's a growing process. We're always having to refine it. And the two types of science are operational or observational and forensic, right? And the two, though similar, are different in many ways because observational or operational science is looking at the now and what we can put our hands on or our eyes on, essentially any of our senses. And forensic deals with putting the pieces together and coming to a conclusion.
Yeah, I think that sums it up. I think that, again, you know, we take it for granted that our senses are reliable. That in itself is a whole nother discussion on why that is a rational position. But yeah, I think you've summed up the differences.